scandal had him boxed in.
Huh?
Congress was ready to impeach, the evidence was piling up, and Nixon was out of moves. So instead of going down swinging, he saved himself some dignity and stepped down from the highest office in the world. He pulled the classic, "You can't fire me, I quit," leading us to Gerald Ford, the only person to become president without ever winning a presidential or vice presidential election. Wait, how'd you get here? Well, first, Vice President Spiro Agnew resigned in disgrace, so Nixon appointed Ford as VP to replace him. Then Nixon resigned over Watergate, and suddenly Ford became president.
Yeah!
No campaign trail, no ballots, just a wild game of political musical chairs. But enough about short-lived presidencies. Let's talk about Jimmy Carter, the first president born in a hospital. Yep, every president before him was a home birth baby. And I think that may have helped out with his health, because Carter later became the first president to live 100 years. My man Jimmy hit triple digits. Meanwhile, Ronald Reagan was the first president to appoint a woman to the Supreme Court, Sandra Day O'Connor. And this was a historic step, one that showed America was slowly opening the door to more diversity in its top institutions. But speaking of top jobs, George H.W. Bush was the first president to serve as CIA director. Yep, before the Oval Office, he was running the nation's spy agency. And this gave him a front row seat to global coups, covert ops, and Cold War secrets, which must have helped out because the Soviet Union collapsed during his presidency. They call me Flappy, Agent Flappy. But after Bush came Bill Clinton, the first president to have his inauguration live streamed on the internet. And while most of America was dealing with a clunky desktop and dial-up internet, this was the first major leap into the digital age. Hey, this thing's still buffering. Now, when you get to president number 43, you might be wondering, how the heck are there still presidential firsts happening? But believe it or not, George W. Bush was the first president with a Master of Business Administration degree, an MBA from Harvard. And sure, his old man probably helped him get in there, but Bush still walked out with a diploma of his own. And I'm just sitting here wondering how much that MBA came in handy when faced with 9/11 and the War on Terror. Probably not too much. On the other hand, Barack Obama's presidential first is pretty obvious. He's the first president born in Hawaii, making him the only commander-in-chief from outside the continental U.S. And, oh yeah, he's also the first African-American president too. A pretty big reflection of America's growing diversity. But speaking of watershed moments, Donald Trump was the first president with zero political or military experience. He wasn't a governor, senator, or even a general. Just a businessman and reality TV star jumping straight into the Oval Office. 'Cause voters got fed up with career politicians and wanted an outsider to shake things up. Until the pendulum swung